Hello and welcome to Maqam lessons. Today we're going to be focused on Maqam Rast. We're going to get the sense of the basic structure of the Maqam as a preview towards covering the entire Maqam Rast family over the next series of lessons, over the next what I would call unit of lessons. We're also going to review what we've done in the series so far and understand how that relates to what's yet to come. So stay tuned for all of that. Before we get started, I do want to give a big thanks to my Patreon supporters. You guys have been amazing over the last 2 years, supporting me to keep making these lessons available for free on YouTube for everybody who wants to use them or can't afford to pay for content. For those of you who have been using this content or been following me, this is the 40th lesson. Probably produced about 30 hours of free content, maybe 35 hours of free content on YouTube for these lessons. The value of that is probably $1,000 if I were to package that up and sell it and make it only available that way. So think about it in those terms. And if you're benefiting from this series, then please go visit my Patreon in the link below and consider becoming a supporter for a small monthly contribution. There is also some additional free content available to Patreon supporters on that site. So check that out below. And thanks to everyone who's been liking and subscribing and sharing these videos. I really appreciate all of you. And even to those who just have watched videos and are trying to learn something about Arabic music, I appreciate you as well. I think that this is such a beautiful musical form, and I want everyone to understand it and see the beauty that I really see in it. Okay, so let's dive into Maqam Rast. And before we start talking about it, intellectualizing it, we want to experience it. We're going to do some simple call and response singing the way that we do all of these lessons. I'll sing a phrase and you sing it back. Obviously, these lessons are geared for instrumentalists as well, but I ask all instrumentalists to listen to the lesson and sing at least once before trying it on your instrument. For me, as a violinist, and now I'm learning the oud, actually, I think that singing the music is crucial, even for instrumentalists, to getting the sense of the Makam. Okay, so without further ado, Maqam Rast. That's our tonic note, our home note. So repeat each phrase after me. I'm going to sing the phrase once, and then I'm going to sing it and play it the second time, and you sing along with me that second time. Also, feel free to pause the video and repeat each phrase as many times as you like. Repeating all of these phrases is going to get them to be embedded in your melodic vocabulary, in your memory, and that is really what's going to build your knowledge of Makam more than anything that I say. Ya Lil, 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 Ya Ya Lil, Ya Lil, Ya Lil, Ya Lil, Ya Aini, Ya Aini, Ya Lil, 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 Ya Lil. Ya Lin, Ya Lin, Ya Lin, Ya Lin, Ya Lil, Ya Lil, Ya Lil, Ya Lin, 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 Ya So far what we've done has been going through what would be the most traditional and most common parts of Maqam Rast. I haven't identified them. We're about to get to that. But I just want you to get that feel. So everything in the Maqam Rast family depends on feeling what we've just done and understanding what we've just done. So I'm going to now go through it again and identify the pieces of it. Before we do that, let's take a moment to focus on our bodies, drop into our bodies, because I want this understanding to be completely embodied for you. As I said in one of my last Makam lessons, summarizing the Makam Sika family, Makam is a physical skill. It's not just an intellectual piece of knowledge. It is the skill that your body uses to execute the melodies of Arabic music, not simply a scale. So take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you want, or not. Do whatever feels relaxing to you in your mind. Pay attention to the sensations in your legs and your feet, in your hands, sides of your waist, your knees. And I want to start again by exercising our diaphragm. That's the muscle underneath the rib cage that produces sound. And I like to encourage people and myself use the kind of a laughing sound. Go ha 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 ha, and you should feel your tummy jiggle. Ha ha ha. You can see my chest is rising. Ha ha ha. Just try that. Ha 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 ha. And then try adding some notes. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. And don't worry about being in tune at this point. Focus on the sensation in your lower abdomen. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Relax your jaw a little bit. I also like to do also exercises both the diaphragm and the lower abdomen underneath the belly button, which is key. These transverse abdominal muscles that are running all the way down to the base of your abdomen are key to producing a good vocal sound. And producing that sound that's comfortable and relaxed is key to getting the Makam in tune. Those should feel like they're coming from the same place in your body. So take another deep breath. And we're going to go back to singing the Makam and understanding it a little bit more. This is our tonic. And to review, the tonic is the note that melodies resolve on. If I play a melody like this, it feels like it's finished. But if I do this, and I end on that note, you probably are now feeling that it wants to resolve up to that note. That would be going 7, 1. Well, why do I say 7? We'll get to that in a moment. But 1 is the note we call the tonic. It would be the same as if we said do, ti, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And if I end a melody here, you can feel that it's waiting to resolve down to 1. Another very important note in Maqam Rast is what we call the gamaz. That's an Arabic term. And in Maqam Rast, it's on the 5th scale degree. Meaning, if we count up from 1, we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or if we count up from do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, sa, re, ga, ma, pa. And that 5th scale degree is emphasized in melodies. You will recall the first melody we sang. Yelin, yelin. Goes up. 1, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 4, 5. So let's just, to utilize our ear memory and our ear brain memory, we want to really focus on 1, ha, ha, ha. Go ahead. 1, ha, ha, ha. 5, ha, ha, ha. 5, ha, ha, ha. 8, ha, ha, ha. 8, ha, ha, ha. And 8 is the same as 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, do, do. 8, 1. 1, 5, 8. 1, 5, 8. 8, 5, 1. 8, 5, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And the third scaled degree of Rast, that 3, ha, 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 3, is the so-called quarter tone note. It's not exactly a quarter tone, as I've explained in other videos, but it's roughly halfway between a flat third and a major third. So some people call it a neutral third, which is a term I don't like because there's nothing neutral about it. Has a particular feeling. And we start in what is called Ajnas Rast, which is the first section of the scale, spanning between 1 and 5. Let's go again. Yelil, yelil, yeah, 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 yelini, yelin, yelini, yelin, 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 yelin. So those melodies were all in Ajnas Rast, spanning between the 1 and the 5. And I have a whole lesson on Ajnas Rast. It's actually the first lesson in the series, Maqam Lesson 1. And I also did a recent lesson focusing on smaller phrases and the physical aspect of it. That's somewhere in maybe lesson 37 or 36, something like that. So check those out to get more vocabulary in Ajnas Rast. Yelil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yelini, yelini. You notice the mood changes a little bit. And one thing to notice when the Ajnas is the plural of Ajnas, when they change, is that the mood of the Makam changes. So we can identify the Ajnas by the change in mood. Here was this mood for Rast. Yelini, yelin, yelini, yelin. And Hijaz, the mood is different. Yelin, yelin. The intervals are different. The register in my voice is different. That obviously makes some difference. But more importantly, the melodic vocabulary is different. Yelin, 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 yelini, yelini, yenin, 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 yenin. We return to Rast at the end. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 8, 6, 5. 7, 8, 6, 5. 5, 7, 8, 9. 5, 7, 8, 9. 9, 8, 7, 8. 9, 8, 7, 8. 7, 8, 9. 8, 7, 6, 5. 7, 8, 9. 8, 7, 6, 5. You can see how we're emphasizing that 5 and making it feel resolved. Because the 6 is unstable and wants to resolve down. 6, 5. Yenin, yenin, 5. Yenin, 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 yenin. Did you notice the change in intervals, the change in notes, the change in mood? We had 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. And we changed to 7, 6, 5. If you've taken these lessons before, can you identify the jints? Go ahead, take a guess. The answer is it's jins Nahawand, also on 5. 8, 7, 6, 5, 7. 8, 7, 6, 5, 7. 7, 6, 5, 4. 7, 6, 5, 4. 6, 5, 6, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yenin, yenin. I've reached the octave. 8, 7, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 7, 8. And the 7 is also another quarter tone note, as opposed to the 7 of Nahawand. 8, 7, 6, 5. Here with what I call Jin's upper rust, we have 8, 7, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're tonicizing the 8, which is why I call it Jin's upper rust. It's tonicizing the 8 from the 5 up. 5, 6, 7, 8. From a scale point of view, you can think of it as the top part of the scale. Sol, la, ti, do. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yenin, yenin. Yenin, yenin. And I could start improvising in rust here, rather than where we started at the bottom of the scale. And if I did that, we would call it Maqam Kirdan. And we have a lesson on Maqam Kirdan. Yenin, 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 yenin. Just like that, I changed to Nahawand from Jin's upper rust. Upper rust, upper rust. Nahawand, Nahawand, Hijaz, Hijaz, Yenin, 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 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, Yenin, 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 using the Hijaz again. Yenin, yenin. Going back to upper rust. So one of the things that's really common about Maqam Rast is this interplay between Jin's Hijaz on 5, Jin's Nahawand on 5, and Jin's upper rust between 5 and 8. And in fact, it's not just an interplay, it's a drama. There's this whole set of expectations that comes into play. Those expectations are built by repeated listening, by repeated singing, by embodiment. But as a listener, from repeated listening and by hearing these Ajnas come together in different improvisations and songs. Now, the whole subject of Unit 1 of the lessons, from lessons 1 to 12, was that basic thing that I'm talking about now. So if you haven't watched that series of lessons 1 through 12, I encourage you to go and watch that, because it's going to give you more in depth with analyses of 5 songs that show you don't have to go in a specific order between upper Rast and then Nahawand. You don't have to go in that order. You could go upper Rast to Hijaz. And this is why I describe the Maqam in a network structure, because you see multiple pathways among these Ajnas. But in my work with dancers and trying to explain the music in a way that non-musicians can understand, it's really this dramatic element, because you have the different character. Hijaz feels one way. And then the mood of Nahawand is totally different. And the mood of upper Rast is different still. Okay? I have different associations with them. There's no right answer. But you want to develop a sense of what are these different moods for you? How do they feel differently? And most importantly, the contrast between them, because that's what produces the drama in improvisation and compositions for Arabic music. So as I said, the first 12 lessons of this series, really, we have a lesson on Jins Rast, a lesson on Jins Upper Rast, a lesson on Jins Hijaz. And if you know those 4 Ajnas, Rast, Upper Rast, Hijaz, and Nahawand, you're going to understand, 80% of the repertory and melodies in Maqam Rast. But there's more. And over the next series of lessons, we're going to use more. And the reason that I'm waiting until now in this series to do that is because we have some Ajnas that we didn't cover in the first 12 lessons. In specifically Jins Saba, Jins Sika. And I want to give you just a taste of those right now before we go on to reviewing more of what's going to happen. So the first thing to notice, here we are, Upper Rast. Yanin, 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 yanin. That's Hijaz on 5. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5. Once we're sitting there with that Hijaz, it's very typical to move to Jins Bayati. Yanini, yanin, yanini, yanin, yanini, yanin, yanini, yanin, yanini, yanini, yanin, yanin, yanini, 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 yanin, yanini, yanin. 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. So that's Bayati on 5. And for Bayati on 5, we covered that in the initial lesson on Maqam Suznak. We're going to go do a new lesson in Maqam Suznak. But when the Bayati on 5 is the main thing that happens on 5, it is what's called a branch member of the family. Meaning it has the basic structure of Rast, but it explores a slightly different pathway. This Bayati, we just introduced at this part of the lesson, it's a new element from the basic structure we covered before. And when it's the dominant element, it becomes what we call Maqam Neiruz, which is going to be the very next lesson that I record for you guys. So we'll see what that feels like. But Bayati can easily go to Saba. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's really a flat 4 above the 5. And if that's confusing, you should just look at the Jins Saba lesson to understand 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the context of Maqam Rast, 5, 6, 7, 8. The flat 8 is meaning that the octave of the Rast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, isn't happening. It's a flattened eighth. But it connects to Bayati very easily. Because it's that lowered eighth scale degree that's the only difference between them. Yanin, 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 came back to Hijaz on 5, 5, 6. The Bayati, the Saba, the Hijaz all really modulate very easily among each other. And to just give you a slight preview of what I'm going to say in a little bit, if you review Unit 2 of the lessons where we covered Maqam Bayati and Maqam Saba and Maqam Hijaz and Maqam Kurd as well, you'll see how they work together, and the Unit 2 summary will show you it's not just the Ajnas that work together, but other parts of the Maqam. That's going to come into play when we explore Maqam Nehruz, as well as the other Maqam Ajnas family. Hijaz, Hijaz, Bayati, Bayati, Saba, Saba, Rast, Rast, Yanini, Yanin, Yanini, Yanin. Another thing that becomes common is to actually tonicize the third scale degree with Jins Sika. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1's the Rast tonic. 5 is the Hijaz tonic. 5, 4, 3 is the Sika tonic. Yanin, 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 yanin. I'm ending on Hijaz for a moment there. Hijaz on 5 as a way of also connecting to the Sika. Yanini, yadin, yanini, yanin. So again, I'm moving back and forth. We went to the Sika, came back to the Hijaz, which we'd done before, and back to the Sika. And I can use the whole Huzam scale. Yanini, yanin, yanini, yanin, yanin, back to the Rast octave. Yanini, 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 yanin, 3, 5, 4, 3, 3, 5, 4, 3. And we can use the variants of Sika, like Mustar and Mukhalif. Yanin, 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 That's Mustar on 3. We had a lesson on Jins Mustar. And Mukhalif. 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. In the lesson on Maqam Suznak, we're going to see that in the famous song Ghanili Shwaya. لسحركم إذا غنيت لسحركم إذا غنيت وأرقص بنات الحي شوية 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 راست سيكا مخالف مخالف سيكا Hijaz, Hijaz, Rast. So again, we can go back and forth among these different Ajnas, and we're adding more and more and more Ajnas. And we're going to go over these relationships in more detail in the next series of lessons. Finally, once we get up to the octave, we can obviously put, well, maybe it's not obvious, but we can put Rust on the octave. That's Rust, 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 Rust. But we can also get what we call Jins Jiharka. We haven't had a lesson on that yet. Nahawan Rust Jiharka Jiharka Upper Rust Nahawan Rust. So you see these yet another mood that's characteristic of the octave in Rust. We also get this beautiful Jins Sabadalanchin. This is different than the Saba we saw on 5 a little bit earlier in the lesson that is connected to Bayati. Again, we'll have a lesson on this coming up. So the 2 new Ajnas we're going to cover are Jins Jiharka and Jins Sabadalanchin, and we're going to see those as they relate to what we call Maqam Dalanchin, which is going to also be coming up after the lessons on Maqam Niruz, Maqam Suznak. So this is the basics of Maqam Rast, and I want to give you a little bit of a visual for a moment here. Before we do a little bit more review, pardon my sip of a little bit of coffee. Take a breath for a moment. Don't get too stuck in your head. We're going to look at some charts. So by now, many of you have read the book Inside Arabic Music. I'm co-author with my good friend Johnny Faraj, who is the creator of the Maqam World website. Many of you have probably visited that excellent website that provides, I think, the best overview of the scalar view of Maqam. But in this book and in some of my papers, Johnny and I have developed a new understanding of Maqam. And in lesson 12, we discussed chapter 17, that basic understanding of the network structure of a Makam. I'm going to show you, so if you jump to chapter 24, which is the final chapter of the book, which is the Makam index that lists all the Maqamat, you'll see this chart, which is the first Sayr chart. This is the chart from Maqam Rast. There's a little bit of a scale. Now, incidentally, those who read music, it's written on C. We've been playing today Maqam Rast on B flat to make it easier on the voice. And B flat is a special key. In Egypt, they call it Taba al-Sughayra, the lower level or the smaller level. But a lot of recordings you'll hear in Rust are actually on B flat, not on C, even though we conceptualize it on C. So that's a side note. Anyway, so let's look at the chart for a moment. Everything that we've done, the main stuff is at the top of the chart. Yalin, yalin, Jins Rust. Yalini, Jins Hijaz. Yalin, yalin. Yalini, yalin. Nahawand on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to Rust. Yalin, Rust on the octave, Yalin, upper Rust, Yalin, Yalin, upper Rust in the lower octave. That's what the LO stands for there. Okay, so there's the basic structure that we covered in the first 12 lessons was this stuff. Both in the form of Jins, Maqam Kirden, which is, as I said, if we start on Jins upper Rust, and in Makam Suznak, which emphasizes Hijaz 5. But the main thing is to note that all of these were coming in different orders. We added Jins Bayati. Yeah, let me make sure I'm in the right key here. That would be Bayati on F since we're on B flat. Rust. Bayati Saba Yalini Yalin Yalini Yalin to Sika on 3. Yalin 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 Mustar Yalin 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 going into upper Rust. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yanin, yanin, yanin. Yanin, yanin, yanin. That would be Jiharka on the octave. Yanin, yanin. Yanin, yanin. Yanin, yanin. Nahawand on 8, that's a flat 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 is connected to the Bayati and the Hijaz. We're going to see that. We didn't really discuss that in the initial lesson, which was the simple form of Maqam Suznak, but we're going to see a lot of that in the lessons on Maqam Nahawand and, Maqam Nehruz and Maqam Suznak. We're going to see a lot of that. And the Sabadelanshin we discussed, right? So we're going to get to all of this structure over the course of the next series of lessons. And, as a way of getting there, I want to kind of summarize what we've done so far in the series and where we're going. So let me say, first of all, as I've said in a number of lessons, you can watch these lessons in any order. Knowledge of Makam is modular in the sense that each part of it that you add to other parts. It's not linear. Even the structure of Makam itself, as I've shown, is networked. There's no one entry point. You can start in different places to learn, etc. So if you are someone who knows the Maqamat at some basic level already, and you already know some repertory, I encourage you to just jump around wherever you like. Let's say you're working a song in Maqam Bayati, go to the Maqam Bayati lesson. But if you're a beginner, relatively new to Makam and Arabic music, I want to encourage you to watch the series from the beginning. Not because it's necessary to do so to understand Makam, but because the concepts that I outline over the whole series will help you to build a broader knowledge. Now, the intellectual knowledge is actually not that important. It's interesting, and I'm interested in it, and I know some people are interested in it. In fact, you can take it in any order, and if you watch all the lessons or watch some of the lessons and listen to lots of other content, you'll start to build the structure that I'm talking about in your brain without necessarily intellectualizing it, and it's not important to do so. But I do cover some important concepts and build on those concepts over the course of the first, let's say, 4 units. So let's talk briefly about what those units were. So first, Unit 1, we've already talked about. Unit 1 goes over the network structure and builds towards an understanding from chapter 17 in this book, where we talk about what are the different metaphors for Makam. People use the tree metaphor. People use a scale metaphor. A scale is actually a metaphor. People don't think about that. But when I showed you in lesson 12 all of these like song analyses, this is, go back to lesson 12 to see this stuff. You can see that the best way to represent Makam, as we show in that lesson, kind of like a subway map. You can go from different stations. Instead of a tree where they're all related and not connected to each other, the reality is that they can move among each other. And this is what we built to. This is a simpler version of the chart I just showed you from chapter 24. This is a chart from chapter 17. So that's going to give you 2 things. The first unit. One is the basic understanding of Maqam Rast. And 2 is the basic understanding of this network structure. Unit 2, which begins after lesson 12, starting lesson 13, 14, covers the Maqamat Bayati, Saba, Kurd, and Hijaz. And those Maqamat are all related. And I discuss why they're related in the Unit 2 summary video, lesson 23, maybe I think it is, where we compare all 4 of those Maqamat. So those 4 Maqamat are super important, super common in the repertory. You should know them as they are. But they're also helpful to know in respect to Maqam Rast, because they all occur in a secondary context in Maqam Rast. And, we spoke here about how Maqam Rast has Bayati on 5, right? But what we didn't speak about here, and what we are going to speak about in the Nehruz lesson, is that you start with Jins Bayati on 5, but you actually end up putting the Maqam Bayati on the 5 and expanding it in its own way for Maqam Nehruz. So it's helpful to understand those for the series of lessons that we have in Maqam Rast family, which is what's coming up. Unit 3 discussed Maqam Nahawand, and it's important for a couple of reasons. One, we compared Nahawand to the minor scale and saw that it was different. That's lesson 24. That's a super important theoretical lesson for the series, to understand that it's melodic content, melodic vocabulary that makes Makam, not just scale. But then we also compared Maqam Nahawand to Maqam Rast, and that's another way to review Maqam Rast, because you can see that just like Rast uses Hijaz, Saba, and Bayati on its 5th scale degree, Nahawand uses Hijaz, Saba, and Kurd on its 5th scale degree. There's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarity in the way that Maqam Rast and Maqam Nahawand behave. And in fact, you can modulate easily between them, which is another thing you'll see. The Ajnas, Rast and Nahawand, can move back and forth on the same tonic. That's something we saw in Unit 2, because Rast and Nahawand are the most common upper Ajnas for Maqam Bayati, Maqam Kurd, and Maqam Hijaz. So that's unit 3, is the focus on Nahawand and then comparing Nahawand to Rast. Unit 4, we did our first full Maqam family, and that was the Maqam Sika family. We explored the Maqamat Sika, Huzam, Musta'ar, as well as the Maqamat Maqam Iraq and Maqam Bastani Kalar. And I want to highlight one thing from that unit of lessons that is going to benefit us in this coming unit of lessons on all of the Maqamat in the Maqam Rast family. The traditional view of a Maqam family is that basically you have the same bottom jints and then you have different Ajnas on top. I've argued and demonstrated that it's not that simple, that you always are using multiple Ajnas in different parts of the Maqam. So to call them different Maqamat doesn't make sense. But with this concept of Sayr, of what's the melodic direction, you can see that the different Ajnas within the Maqam are used in different ways. And they bring in parts of their own relationships, like we were talking before. If Bayati has a relationship to Ajnas on its 4th scale degree, those relationships will come in when Bayati occurs in Maqam Rast. Again, this right now, this latter part of this lesson may seem a little bit too talky, a little bit too intellectual. I'm just reviewing what we covered in much greater detail in embodiment in Unit 4 in the series of Maqam Sika. So if you haven't watched that, that's a good one to watch. If you're familiar with the Maqamat, then just watch the final summary video of that, the Maqam Sika family video. And that will help you as you understand what we're going to do here, because we're going to see how the Maqam Rast family is similar to the Maqam Sika family in drawing in the broader Maqamat, Bayati, and Saba, and so on, within the context of Rast. We also had a mini unit of lessons that focused on the embodiment of the intervals, of the quarter tone intervals. Again, I use that word with caution. And so that's what we've been doing so far. So in this upcoming unit, I should have saved that spot. We're going to cover, obviously, Maqam Rast. We're going to look at Maqam Suznak, which has Bayati on 5, but is focused on Hijaz. Maqam Neiruz, is that the right page? Which really emphasizes the Bayati on 5, but still has Hijaz on 5. Right, so the question of the difference between Neiruz and Suznak, if they both are using Bayati and Hijaz on 5, how are they different? That's what we're going to explore in the next couple of lessons. We'll look at this jins, Maqam Dalanshin, which emphasizes the Saba Dalanshin on 6 to 8, and Jiharka also on 8, after we do the lessons in Jiharka and Saba Dalanshin. We'll talk a little bit about these kind of rare versions of Maqam Rast, Maqam Suzdalar, that really only appears as a passageway in Maqam Rast, and Maqam Mahur, which is a confusing Maqam, because it's really a Turkish Maqam version of Maqam Rast, and there's some washahat in it, but there's a funky modern version of it that uses Upper Ajam on the top, and we'll talk about that in a few lessons. And then once we review all of those, we're going to come back and look at this chart in much more detail than we did in this lesson. We didn't even talk about jins seekability. We'll talk about that also in a future lesson, and get that full picture of Maqam Rast. So as I said, you can jump around. You can do whatever you want. You can watch 5 minutes of this and throw it away. You do you. I'm just here trying to provide content. And once again, before we finish the lesson, and we will do a little bit more singing, I want to encourage everybody to support me on Patreon via the link below. Once again, super grateful to everyone who's done so already. And please like and subscribe, and share these videos with your friends. Mm. All right, so let's finish up. I did mention, we're doing Rust on B flat for the sake of singers. And in the lesson on Maqam Rast, we're going to also be in the same key. Some of the recordings of the famous Dor, Asl al-Gharam, which we're going to analyze in detail, also in a lesson just coming right after Maqam Rast. Female singers tend to sing Rust on B flat. You see a lot of Kulthum Rust on B flat, and Marie Joubran, who sings the most famous version of Asl al-Gharam, that is in Maqam Rast on B flat. So I chose this key for that reason. Obviously, I'm using a violin that's tuned differently. You know, there are retuning apps that you can use, browser extensions, and you can retune this whole video and listen to the same phrases in different keys just by I use transpose.video as my browser extension. When I'm learning stuff from different keys, sometimes I'll transpose it for myself and play it on my instrument or my voice in a different key. Male singers like Muhammad Khairi will often sing Rust on D or E, same thing with Abdul Wahab, but if we sing it lower as men, it enables us to go higher in the register. So this is a good key for Maqam Rast. You'll see a lot of Rust in this key for both men and women. Abdul Wahab started singing Rust on this key as he got older. So that's why I chose this key, even though instrumentalists will be annoyed because you want to do Rust on C. Well, just retune the video. Or follow my Patreon, where I have extra free lesson content, some of which will be Rust on C. So we've done a lot of talking and a lot of analysis. Now I'm just going to go back without talking about it too much. I'll probably say a few things. And as we review, I want you obviously to focus on singing and embodiment, but I also want you to pay attention to the moods of the different Ajnas and see if you can tell what they are. Use this as like a little quiz. What jins did we just go to? And then you can go back to earlier in the video, see where we covered it or talked about it, or review some of the other Ajnas. So I'm going to start at the top. Yanin, 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 Yalin, 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 yalin. You guessed right. That's Jins Hijaz. Yalin, 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 Maqam Rast. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for the next ones.